Hello, yet again, and this is Shera Inspires speaking to you from Nairobi, Kenya. Now, this morning I would like us to speak to the men, my favorite audience, being a mom to 3 sons and a daughter, a wife, and a mentor to many young men out there. So we know that men are at crossroads because the current male comparing himself to his father, he doesn't feel like he's doing enough because their fathers, they used to be the sole providers for families, and the marriages and the families were united. And nowadays it seems like there are so many problems for the male. But I believe it's for all, by the way, the male and the female. Because even the women, there are things that we feel we cannot borrow from our mothers. And, the roles have changed, and so have the rules. So let's concentrate on the man, because the man nowadays is totally not sure what he is supposed to do. So why women get confused, it's because, especially to the married men, we expect men to be good fathers. And by this, I mean that we expect men to be the ones to take us to church. Not to take us to church because you've been out all week and on Sunday you drive your family to church and then you go and sleep. Assuming that you're praying for all of us and you sleep throughout in the service. We want you to take us to church and be there, be present. We also expect that you should love the mothers to your children. Now, men, you marry a woman and we are not sure you love us because you love many. So you get boys, you get girls, you even get twins, you get triplets, and the man is still not satisfied. You'll still find him jumping and hopping around. So we don't feel loved. So you should be able to express love, to show love, to commend us when we do well. Like say, I'm a good cook, I'm a good wife, I know how to take care of the children, I know how to dress, I know how to cook nutritious meals, I care for the family's health, I'm compassionate. And we need to hear this. Don't leave us guessing like your fathers did, because now you are not like your fathers and you have changed. So we expect you to love us, say it, show us, and love the children as well. We also expect when you love the children, tell them as well, son, I love you. Son, well done. Son, that was good. Son, I care for you. We expect you to say these things. You should be responsible for the children. The little that you get, we are not looking at too much money. We are also just looking at you being honest about what you're earning and how you're being responsible for the children. If you're paying school fees, are you also responsible for their actions? Are you available? Are you present? Are you visible? Are you heard? Or you're just in the house, we rarely hear you. But people just see a trouser walking in and out of the house, but you're rarely seen, presence really being felt. A man's presence should be felt in the house. Like you correct the children. If you walk in and the room is untidy, maybe they've thrown the cushions all over, you should be able to say, your mother is working so hard to keep the house neatly. So you should also be careful at what you do. Don't just keep quiet and then start, making noise at the mother of the children. So you should teach and instruct them. And as Christians, we know the Bible keeps telling us this. Keeps telling us this, and our children will never be parents. Though these days the roles have really switched, and some children are behaving like parents. Where you find, I keep saying this because I deal a lot with children, and I see young parents having to negotiate on the menu with children, like, what are you gonna eat? What should we cook? And sometimes they'll tell you cook indomie, cook sausages, cook burgers, and you can't afford it. So whatever meal is placed on the table, they should eat. So some of them, they come up with even crazy allergies. They'll tell you they feel like throwing up. I'm not saying they're not genuine. Some are genuine, but others are not. So don't give the children leeway to be parents. We are the ones who should teach them and train them and discipline them. Men, we expect you to help us discipline the children. You can cane the children. We didn't say murder them, because there are times also when dad beats a child, you're afraid. They hit them so hard. So we expect you to discipline the children. Don't just be quiet and watch things, and then when they make mistakes, you're there, making noise and throwing tantrums at your wife. Yet you've been quiet all along. You've been silent. Speak. We need to hear you. Comfort your children. Sometimes the children cry. Maybe he was cycling and he falls. You need to be able to comfort him and tell him, yes, it happens, and you'll be okay. You lift him up, push him again, teach him how to cycle, be available, teach him how to play football, teach him how to put pressure, on the bike. All this, teach him how to use a hammer. I won't forget, my father was those kind of men. He had a toolbox where he had everything. I grew up watching that, and I love that. I even try and inspire our sons to own toolboxes. And yes, once in a while I'll also try and just buy them stuff like that. I find it very attractive for a man to have stuff like that. Of course, even women are having them nowadays, but yeah, this video is particularly to encourage the male and to tell the men what we expect to them, especially if we have children with them. And also, if you have children with a woman, she came with children. It's a blended family. Love her and love the children she came with, and then come with your children and love all the children together. Now, you cannot be this man who eyes your stepdaughter and you start imagining that she's not even your daughter after all. You can turn her into a wife. Those are not the men that we want. We want to be comfortable with the men and husbands around our children. Of course, we don't want to go off, like, having to make our children, hug daddy and hug, and the girls are also big. We don't want that. We just still want to be African, and a handshake is good enough. Encourage your children. If a child is doing well, you cannot go to boarding school and your child has not performed well in mathematics, and you're there telling her, even your mother was not good at mathematics. You will never do well, or do not be surprised that you're not performing well because your mother was like that. You can't speak like that, because these children don't forget. They grow older and they remember what you told them. So because you're speaking ill of the mother, she goes out of her way and works so hard to pass that particular subject so that she can shame you. And this also Kenyan thing we have, whereby if a child does well, then the man will be like, oh, you've done well academically, you have a brain like your daddy's. And when they don't do well, you go telling them that they have a brain like their mothers. That's why they didn't do well. It may sound hilarious, but I don't find it humorous. It's belittling mothers, and it's lying about yourself, because it's not like you're the one who does well or things work well for you so that you can take all the credit. It takes two to tangle. So warn your children against dangers as well. So let them know what's happening. If it's where you reside, tell them the dangers of even going out, sleepovers. Tell them about, driving at high speed. Don't just tell them, no, nobody's going to touch the car. I don't want you to drive. Let them drive with you so that they can know how to drive well. But you can't be against their driving. But when you want them to take the car to the car wash, you allow them to drive it. But when you're not around, again, you panic that they can't drive. So when things are favoring you, it's okay for the children to take the car if you want them to bring the car to where you are. But when they're with the mother and they're using the car, you're busy saying, oh, I don't want the children to drive the car. And they're doing this and that. And you can't correct them. But yet you want them, the same children, to bring the car to you. But you don't want them to learn how to drive. or practice with your car. Why? Because you're rarely there. You are unavailable. If you're available, you will be able to see and notice, are they driving well? How are they, turning the car? And are they able to check, the gear, to put oil and all that? You teach them. Then do not provoke your children. There are fathers who just talk to their children anyhowly. And they will speak ill, and they'll even speak ill about the teachers, or they'll speak ill about other people. And like, why would that person behave like that? He's the most foolish person I've ever seen. Ana akili mzuri, ana kichwa mzuri. You're speaking like that and your children can hear. You provoke them to also use the same kind of language. And it's not right. And then also leave a spiritual legacy for your children. It's not just about money. Let's be like the Nobel Prize winner. The Nobel Prize. You know how it came about. The guy was mistakenly announced to be dead, Nobel, because they shared the last name with his brother. And he used to make dynamite then. But he's not the one who was dead, it was his brother. So as he was reading the newspaper, he looks and sees, and they say that finally, the man who is known for making dynamite is finally dead. And Nobel, when he looked at that, he said, I don't want to leave this kind of obituary. This is not the legacy I want to leave. And that's how he came up with the Nobel Peace Prize. So even for us, we need to know, what legacy are we leaving for our children? It's just not about material. We've seen many rich children who waste their material stuff. Spiritual legacy, take the children to church, talk to them. And that would be a better legacy to leave, because whatever values we instill in our children, they'll never depart from them. Even when they blunder a little, they'll always, come back to our ways. So let's not assume that our children will just bring themselves up. And always, when you see our sons behaving in a way that you're condemning, remember they are a mirror of you as the father. So don't condemn them, don't judge them, don't rebuke them. Just go into your inner room, look at yourself, and do a self-reflection and ask, did I do these things when I was young? Why is my son turning out like this? And yet some daddies are not even sure whether their children are their children. When children turn out like this and they start talking to the mother, oh, we need to go for DNA. This son, I'm not sure whether he's my son. Or you remember many years down the line, you did this and that. And they bring up issues. People talk of women bringing up issues. We are also left to wonder about fathers. So now with these tips, I hope that men will be able to understand why sometimes we call them as bad fathers, and our expectations are the points that I have mentioned. Thank you once again, and clouds of blessing.